in today's video I have something really exciting. We're going to turn ourselves into an avatar from Pandora. So we all know the movie Avatar, directed by James Cameron, and it's a mind-blowing movie, and it excels in so many ways that it even blows visual effects artists away. So obviously in the movie they use high polygon 3D characters and they animate that with all these trackers and these suits that capture your motion, which is also something that we can look at in the future. But for now, I just wanted to have a simple way to turn yourself in an avatar. You can of course spend as much time as you want on this procedure, but with the bare basics, you'll get something like this. Transform your videos into Hollywood quality masterpieces with ease. And the best part, you can do it all for free. Simply sign up for my mailing list and receive a free surprise bundle. Plus, receive free VFX elements every single month. Click the link below to join now and elevate your video production game to new heights. Alright, so here we are in Adobe After Effects, and this is the shot that I will be working on. So what I want to do first is change my skin color to blue, of course. So depending on the shot that you have, you will need to do this first part or you will be able to skip it. For example, in the other shot that I created, you can see that I'm surrounded by water, which doesn't have any orange tones. So the skin color is really contrasted towards the background and you don't need to isolate anything. In this case, it's different because my face has almost the same tones as the leaves and the orange of the fall here. So what we want to do is isolate my face first, and then we can set the tone of our color. So I'm just going to drag and drop this into a new composition right here. And I'm going to duplicate my footage and call this Roto for the hand and also Roto for the face. So let's focus on the hand first and let's see where we actually see the hand. So right here, it already disappears. So we can just trim this clip until here. Then I'm going to double click on this. After that, I press the roto brush tool. So I'm going to click on the roto brush, double click on my footage, and now I can go to the first frame of my timeline and simply rotoscope myself out. Then I'm going to freeze this roto and I'm going to continue with the face. So I'm going to double click on the face and repeat the same steps. So for the face, I'm also going to include the black shirt right here so I don't have any bleeding between the skin tones and the shirt. And as it's black, it's not going to change color anyway. It doesn't have any color. Try to get your first frame as perfect as possible because the first frame is what it's going to use to calculate the rest on. Alright, so then I'm going to also freeze this roto. And while we're waiting anyway, it's a perfect time to go and grab a coffee. I'll be right back. Still freezing though. That's life of a VFX artist.
A few moments later.
Once we're done, I'm going to head over back to my composition and I'm going to select both of these layers and I'm going to layer, pre-compose. I'm going to call it skin mask. You can give it a different color if you want. And if we jump back into this, we will see that we can also play with the effect here of the roto brush. So I'm going to give it a little bit more feather on the edges, also a little bit less shatter. And there we go. Play a little bit with these settings here. And then we can head back. Now we can create a new adjustment layer. And this is going to be our blue skin. We can also change the color here to blue. Bring it under the mask and we're going to parent this on the mask. The actual position doesn't matter. I just like to do it like that. It keeps me structured. And then we're going to apply a Lumetri color to our adjustment layer. So now for the skin color, it's as simple as going into the curves here, folding this open and then go over to the saturation first. And let's pick our skin color by doing it like that. Then I'm going to also make this a little bit longer so we have a bigger range to work with, and I'm going to increase the saturation so we have more saturation in the skin tones. And then I'm going to click on the same average range for the hue versus hue, and in this case, if I bring this up, you will start seeing my skin shifting color. So now we're going to try and match the color of the avatar. But what we want to do is find here, by going to left and right, a nice blue color that actually fits and where the shift actually happens naturally. There we go. I think this looks pretty natural to me, and then we can script through the video, see if this is working, but already it's pretty cool. We just changed colors very simply. The next thing that I want to do is actually track the information of my face. So what I will do is go to the beginning of my timeline, to my original footage right here, and I'm just going to choose the ellipse tool here and draw an ellipse around my face where I see my eyes, nose, and mouth. And that should be it. We can then set it to none, and then we can go over to the tracker right here, and we can change the method here to face tracking detailed features. Make sure you have that enabled. Go to the beginning of your timeline and then press track forward. Now it's going to analyze all the facial features on our face. So it's going to track our eyes, our nose, every movement on the entire face. And that information we will be using to bind specific things to. For example, we want to change our eye color to yellow. We also want to make our eyes a little bit bigger, so we need to distort them a little bit because we're still working on real footage here. And actually, to record the audio in this shot, I used Hollyland. They didn't sponsor this video, but they did send their latest wireless microphone, the Lark M1, and I'm super excited to test it out because we've actually always been using their products whenever we film on set. So right now I'm recording with this microphone, but whenever you see me talking outside or in a movie or on set or without a microphone, it's always their microphone, and this is the latest version. So if you want to find out more about this, check out link in the description below. Again, they did not sponsor me to say any of this. I just really enjoy working with the brand, but they did send this over, of course. So this was their previous case, and this one is the new one. It's quite a difference. I really enjoy this. All right, so let's get back to the video. All right, so now we have a bunch of tracking points all from our face, and they are stored right here. So if we unfold them, we will see even more details. So we need to unfold the left eye, the right eye, and the mouth. And then what I want to do is create null objects that are going to have the actual information of them in their position text, so we can then parent stuff to them and track stuff onto them. So if you don't follow, just follow along and you will get it in a second. So I'm going to create a new null object right here, and I'm going to call this left inner eye. I'm going to duplicate it, left pupil eye, and duplicate it once more, right inner eye, duplicate it again, right pupil, and duplicate again, mouth. So now we have a bunch of nulls, and if we are going to select all of them, we can press P on the keyboard to reveal their position. Let's go all the way to the beginning of our timeline. This is really important that you are at the beginning, and then we're going to select the left inner eye, hold Control, press C to copy all of these datas by selecting the title right here. You will see that all the keyframes are selected. And if you now go to the position of the left pupil eye and you paste that, or the left inner eye, I'm sorry, I have to make sure that we're correct here. Left inner eye corresponds with left inner eye, or left eye inner. So when we paste that, it's just going to have all this information onto the position of the null. That's exactly what we need. So let's now go for the left pupil, paste that onto the position right here, go down a little bit for the right eye, the right inner eye, which is right eye inner right here. Right eye inner, there we go. And now for the pupil. And paste that right here. And now for the mouth, I'm going to be using the upper mouth, so the mouth top here. And I'm just going to paste that onto the mouth. So now if we play this, or if we click away and we just play this through, we will see that we should have a null in the inside of the eye, on the pupil of the eye, or at least somewhere close to that. And then the inner eye here and the pupil, and then on the top of the mouth. So that's looking okay. So now we can close this, or actually fold it down. You can also do the same for the nulls. And now we can start focusing on the rest of our face. But before we do, we can see that whenever I talk, the lips, it should still have some kind of red color into it to have that kind of natural feel. And the teeth also are getting a little bit of a blue tint there, which doesn't look very natural. So what I will do is create a simple mask here onto a new null. So I'm going to create a new null for the mouth. Duplicate that null layer by clicking on it and Control D. left eye, duplicate it again, right eye. Now we want to make both, or actually all three of these solids invisible so we don't see them, and then click on the math layer, make sure that you selected that one, go to the pen tool, and now zoom in a little bit, or we're going to start drawing our mouth here. So right here, I'm just going to make a simple shape of the mouth, just like that. And then I'm going to click on the left eye, and I'm going to do the same thing here for the eye. I'm going to make a simple mask around the eye here. And then for the right eye, I'm also going to click on that layer and also make a simple mask just like that. And now actually, if I'm going to duplicate my original footage and then also duplicate all of my tracking nulls that we created, well, actually we don't need the pupil, so we are going to deselect the pupil by holding Ctrl and then just clicking it on it again. So you don't have those selected. We can duplicate this information right here. We're going to just bring it on top, and then I'm going to select all of these nulls. I'm going to select the extra duplication of my original layer right here, and I'm just going over to layer, pre-compose all of these, and I'm going to call it face mask. I'm going to jump into that composition. I'm going to right click on my original footage and change this to a guide layer. So now we can see our original footage in the background, but it's actually not going to render. I'm going to press T on the keyboard and lower the opacity to 50% so we actually see it, but not very prominently. And now if we enable these solids, we will see these solids on top of my original footage. So now what I want to do is select all of these and press M twice on the keyboard. And I'm going to create a mask for all of these. You never know, you want to make an adjustment later on in the timeline. So I'm going to make a keyframe for every mask path. I'm also going to increase the feather quite a bit for all of these. And then I'm going to select all of these, making sure that I didn't change my timeline here. So I'm still with the same proportion here. I'm going to parent and link to each corresponding null. So for the right eye, I'm going for the right eye inner. For the left eye inner. And for the mouth, I'm going for the mouth. There we go. And now if we play this, it should stick quite well to everything that we have. All you will have to do is actually go through the video and adjust it where needed. So obviously, as is the tutorial, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but the better you do this, the better your final result is going to look. And obviously try to make sure that everywhere on every frame, it matches and it looks nice. What we're going to do is press F4 and then just increase the feather for all of these. So it already looks a lot more smoother. And then also we're going to make sure that the opacity here is set back to 100% for all of these. We can still go in there, adjust or make small adjustments where needed. And you can always play more with the feather to make it even softer. After that, we're just going to jump back into our original clip here, and we're going to see that we have our mask right here. So obviously we already have a mask on our adjustment layer. So what we're going to do is, before we actually bind this one, we're going to bind the original mask to this mask right here. So now we're only going to see that it affects like around the eyes. And there we go. We're going to select both of these. Then we're going to pre-compose this blue face. And there we go. And now we need to parent this to this right here. And there we go. So now we only have the face being changed to the color blue. And we also have a little bit of more of a bleeding around the edges, which is going to make it look a little bit more natural. Obviously, you'll see that it can still have some errors, so you'll have to adjust where needed to make it look more flawless, and then also go through the entire mask to make sure that it looks natural. And you can also play more with the feather, just like mentioned before, to get a better gradient in there. But this is going to look a lot more natural because we have white teeth, we have still some kind of soft kind of rose toned lips. So then I'm going to create another adjustment layer. I'm going to bring that on top of this, and I'm just going to call it remove red, add a lumetri color to that. And in here, if we're going to play with the same curves here, but we're going towards the reds and like remove the saturation here, we'll get an even nicer gradient in here. So then we have to change the colors of the eyes, and the way I've done that is actually adding a new adjustment layer. call it left eye, and duplicate it, call it right eye. I'm going to change the color here to yellow so we can actually see that these are going to be my yellow eyes. I'm going to click on the left eye and then go to the ellipse tool, zoom in on the left eye, and make a nice ellipse right here, just like that. Then I'm going to create 2 more solids, and these are going to be the masks of my eye. You can actually do that using Mocha AE, or you can just use the regular mask here, which is going to require a little bit of time as well. So I created 2 solids. One is a left eye mask, one is right eye mask, and I'm going to make them invisible for now. So let's concentrate on one eye, see how we do that. So what I will do is click on the left eye and now parent this to the left pupil eye. I'm also going to press M on the keyboard to click on the mask path, because we're definitely going to need to animate this because the track is not always perfect. So wherever you need, you might need to do small adjustments in the mask throughout the entire video. And then for the left eye mask, what I want to do for that is click on that layer, go to the pen tool and drag it out just like that and make a mask of the white, of the eye white. So let's try that again. So do this as good as possible. And then we're going to get something like this. So now we have this mask. We can press F on the keyboard, change the feather, for example, to 3 pixels. And if we're going to make this visible, we're going to have black eyes. Also pretty cool, but we don't need this. We need this as a mask for the adjustment layer, because if the adjustment layer, if I'm just going to click on the left eye here, if I'm, for example, going to fill this, it's going to exceed the eye here. But now if I'm going to parent this to the left eye mask, it's only going to show where needed. So if I open up the mask properties here, I can still play with the mask expansion. And I do propose that it goes for like a -3. And this I'm going to set it to a feather of 5. So it smooths out nicely, maybe even 10. Well, actually, this should be 3, but the left eye should be around like 5. Let's go. Like feather of 5 and a feather of 3 right here. Play around to find the one that matches for your shot, and then we can delete the fill so we can concentrate on the eye. So what I've done here is I just added a curves and I just brightened up my eye quite a bit. I know it's a little bit of a weird way to do this, but then I added a hue and saturation, and I just used colorize and went for like 70, and then played around until I found like the yellow tone that I wanted. And if you think this is too bright, we can add in some contrast as well. Something like this. And then I just duplicated the mask of my eye here. And this time I set it to subtract. And then I'm going to open up the settings and just lower the expansion. And that way I'm going to recreate my pupil here. Maybe I want to set that to like 2. So I have a pupil. And you can make it as big as you want here. So just by doing that. And now I have a different eye color. So obviously we need to parent this to the left eye pupil, and we have to make sure that we have a mask path enabled. I'm only going to add a second mask after I'm sure that the first mask is in the right position. So I'm going to delete this for now and then go through the entire video. You will see that right here, the eye is off. It didn't track properly. You will have to change that, position this right here. Make sure that you also don't have a mask enabled for now, and just concentrate on positioning the eye over the entire video in the right order. So once you're sure that in the entire video everything looks okay, which it definitely won't be in my case because I spent way too little time on it, you can go ahead and duplicate this again, subtract it, press F on the keyboard, set it to 3, and fold it more to lower our expansion, just like we said. Place it right there, and then also click on the mask path for our left eye here. Maybe we want to move over this keyframe right here because it was correct at some point, and then just place this wherever it needs to be, adjust it however you need to adjust it on every single frame as well. So making sure that if you have it right here, that you parent it to the left eye inner, and that way it's going to make your job easier to track the correct position. So once you have done that, we can now parent this track matte to the left eye mask, and now you will see that the eye is in the correct place and you don't have any problems with the eyes. You will have to go through the entire thing, so in the animation it won't look good in this tutorial for my purpose, but this is how I did the eyes. And if you actually hold Ctrl-Shift-H, you don't see the null, so you can actually concentrate on the look. You can see it looks pretty good. Okay, cool. So the next thing that we need to do is adjust my nose. We need a bit of white freckles on the face and also these kind of cool tattoos that are like a zebra look, kind of a snake look, I don't know, pretty unique. But to do that, here's where the plugin actually comes in. So either you can use Mocha Pro, which is actually an extension of Mocha AE, but it just has the power mesh tool, or you're going to be using Lockdown. Lockdown is also a great plugin. Both of these have very similar results, but they allow you to mesh track an object. So in this case, my face gets deformed all over. It's not just a 2D track or a 3D track, it's actually a mesh track. And that's going to allow me to capture all the deformations of my face and then add in new data. For example, I want to add in a tattoo on my face, or I want to add these freckles. These things we will be able to do using this technique. So what I did is I just duplicated my original footage, deleted all the information here, and I added Mocha Pro to my original footage here, and then I opened up that window by clicking on the logo of Mocha, and in here it's as simple as just selecting my face, Ctrl-A to select everything, and then kind of smooth it out like this. And I'm going to set minimum pixels used to 100, enable perspective, enable mesh. I'm also going to set the generation mode to automatic, but with 64 grids, generate this mesh. I'm also going to enable adaptive contrast, generate that mesh, and that way we're going to get a lot more detail in here. That's looking all right, and now I'm going to track it backwards and forwards because we actually start within our frame. So let's do its thing, and then we can add in the last piece of data and finish this awesome effect. Of course, I know that the actual avatars have a little bit of a different look. Their faces are elongated, and they also have these different ears. You could actually spend more time in After Effects removing or object removing your original ears, painting them out, and then adding in digital ears that you just photoshopped in and you tracked onto yourself as well. That's one way of doing it. I'm not going to bother with that effect for now, because if we are going to start that route, maybe it's better to just do it in 3D after all, because it's quite a bit of time to spend on one shot. But it's a really cool result that actually gives you endless possibilities. Okay, so once it's done tracking, there is one more thing that we need to do, is find a nice neutral position, maybe this position right here, and then we can animate onto that. So make sure that you have a nice neutral position where you want to make the adjustments to your face. Like maybe right here, which is frame 102. So let's make it 100 to make it easy. There we go. And then we're going to click here on the surface, show planar surface. And then we want to expand it by clicking here. And now it expanded to the entire frame. We can close this and save it. Now we're at frame 100. Let's go to frame 100 as well. And now we should be able to right click, time, and freeze this frame. So we only have a frozen frame of our face. Then we're going to just give it a tint so we can actually see if it works or not. And then we're also going to the matte right here, and we're going to choose apply the matte. So we actually apply the mask that we used for the mesh. So we can see that we only see the face right here. So that's working out great. So now what I want to do is I want to head into the power mesh, or actually in the module renders. And I'm going to change a module here to stabilize warp. Then I'm also going to check render, and it should render the stabilized warp version of this. So now if I'm going to layer, pre-compose this, move all the attributes for now, and I'm just going to call this warp face. And there we go. We can jump into this, and if we're going to play this, we should see that my frozen frame is sticking on the imagined place of my original face. So it shouldn't be playing right here. And if it does, it's because I didn't freeze it well enough. So I will go right here, and I'm going to delete the freeze frame. I'm just going to layer, pre-compose this, and leave all the attributes for now. So the mocha only gets applied after. I'm going to click OK, jump into that layer, right click, time, freeze frame, go back to my previous frame, and now you will see that it's actually frozen. Maybe it's a problem there. But you will see that my lips are actually moving, everything is actually moving. Well, actually, I think it already worked, but it just seemed like it was animating because it's actually using this information of all the warp data to remesh my face, but it's a frozen image. So that's pretty cool. We can do a lot of things with that. So I'm going to jump into my original frame here, and I'm just going to key out my eyes because we don't want all that data in there. Also my mouth, we don't need it. So I'm just going to make a simple mask like that. Also going to press M on the keyboard, set it to none so we don't see it. Make another mask. There we go, set it to none. And then for the mouth, I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm going to key out the mouth. And there we go. Now we're going to set all of them to subtract. Press F on the keyboard and feather all of these pretty smoothly, just like that. Well, that's actually way too much. So let's go for 50 for each of them. And that should be all right. And now we can add a lot of cool stuff to this. So now whatever adjustment I make to my original frozen frame here, it should come true to my final image. So what I want to do is add a little bit of freckles. The quick way to do this is creating a new solid, call it freckles. I'm just going to add a particle world, which comes with After Effects and is their particle generator. And I'm just quickly going to set the physics here to gravity 0, producer, and I'm going to open up the particles as well, set it to faded sphere, set the sides here to 0.1 and 0.05, so we have some differences, and set the color to white and, for example, a kind of shade of blue. And then we can also add a curves, and depending on how sharp you want the freckles to be, you can go into the alpha channel right here and push the alpha channel up to make these spheres more visible. So you can go halfway, so they're a little bit more sharp and they look like that. You can still make them smaller if you'd like and play with the particles when they spawn, when they don't spawn. That's going to be up to you. And then I'm going to click on the particles and I'm just going to center them like right here. I'm going to click on the layer of the particles, go to layer and pre-compose these with move all the attributes and call it freckles comp. Then I'm going to right click on this, time, freeze the frame, and now we can make this the entire length duration of our face. So we have a frozen frame for the particles over the entirety of my composition. And now we can kind of key out like the place where we want these freckles to be. So maybe we only want freckles to appear right here. And if you like that, great. If you don't, you can always jump back in, play more with the settings of the particles. Maybe you want a lot more particles, so we can change the birth rate instead of 2 to be 6. And we can also lower the particle size for the maximum here to 0.01, for example. So we have smaller particles. Maybe 0.1 is too small, so 0.2. And if we go back, we will have a different look for our freckles. So this is pretty cool. I like this. Let's change the color instead of blue to be reddish or orangey, because we're actually going to convert the colors afterwards. So now I just want to match it to my orange skin, and then it's going to affect with the adjustment layer that we created to a blue skin. So let's leave it at this right here. Then I'm going to create a new solid layer, and this is going to be my kind of tattoo look. And here you also have to play however you want. I'm going to add a fractal noise effect to this. And I'm going to change the noise type here instead of a soft linear to a spline. I'm also going to change the turbulence to turbulence smooth. And if I'm going to invert this, I'm going to get a look like this. So if I increase the contrast and change the overflow to clip, and also change the complexity from 6 to 2, we're going to get lines like these. And so this is looking pretty cool. I'm going to actually also add an effect that is called extract. And with this extract tool, I'm going to be able to remove whatever is too black in my scene. And if I bring this lower one out, it's going to soften that edge, just make that a little bit nicer. Another thing that I can do is actually add a channel blur to this and increase the alpha blurriness. That's going to blur out the edges, as you can see right here. And if you want even more detail, you can add a turbulence displacement and change the complexity to something like 6. And now you're getting a fractal look just like this. Pretty cool. Another thing that I want to do now, and that's the last thing, is going to add a tint effect to pick the same color of my skin and a darker tone of my skin. So I'm just going to pick a darker tone for the black, and for the brightness, I'm actually going a little bit more saturated, like to give it a different look. And now you can play with the opacity for both of these layers to make it a little bit better integrated onto your face. And I'm also going to create a new solid for the tattoo, which is going to be my mask on where I want the tattoo to be. So this is going to be tattoo mask. So I'm going to disable this for now. I'm going to start like drawing the place where I want the tattoo to appear. So like this is pretty cool. I'm going to keep that right here. I'm going to break it up here. So this is a part I want. This is a part I want. And maybe this is a part I want. And so of course you can change as much as you want, play around with the fractal noise, play more with all these settings. These are just quick ways of doing it. But if you play more with the settings, you're going to get different looks. Maybe you want to do it in Photoshop and just track it onto this afterwards, so you have even more options to work with. I don't know, everything is up to you. So once you have your mask, we can now go to the tattoo look and parent it to this. So we now only see the tattoo wherever it needs to be. And now we have kind of the red version of the avatar. So now if I go back to my original look here, and also make sure that I delete that tint effect here in this composition. This was just merely to demonstrate. We can see that we have an avatar look. Pretty cool. The fractals might be a little bit too intense, so we can always jump in here and go to the particle comp and set like 35% in the opacity. And you're going to get different looks here. So one more thing that I want to do is actually make my eyes bigger and also maybe modify my nose. So let's first make our eyes bigger. To do that, I'm going to create a new adjustment layer and I'm going to bring this all the way on top. Left eye big, right eye big. I'm actually going to add a liquify tool to both of these. But for the right eye big, I'm actually going to parent this to the inner of the right side. So right inner, go to the position. And I'm actually going to do something before we add anything. So go to the right eye big, go into the warp tool options, well, actually to the distortion mesh offset. Alt click on the stopwatch. And I'm going to parent this to the position of the right eye inner. So now the right eye is actually going to track the distortion correctly. So now if I'm going to choose this tool here, which is the bulge tool, you can also jump into the brush tool here, maybe set it to like 200, then click on the bulge, go to the right eye, click once, twice, and 3 times. We should be able to make it follow the null. So now it should follow the null. And I'm also going to mask out just the eye so it doesn't affect anything else. Press F on the keyboard, change it to 100 in the feather. And now we have a bigger eye on the right. So repeat the process right here. Add the liquify tool for the left eye. Liquify. And open up the left inner position. Go back to the left eye. Alt click on the distortion offset. And parent that to the left eye inner right here. There we go. Now we can go into the options. Set the brush size to 200. Bulge it 1, 2, 3. We can even go 4 if you really want big eyes, but let's go one step back. It should be all right. And then choose your ellipse tool, draw a little mask here, press F on the keyboard, set it to 100, and it should actually track. So for the mask, you will actually have to do this on a new null because we actually track the liquify tool, so we cannot track our null anymore. So I'm going to create new. And there we go. we're going to bring these on top, and I'm just going to copy this mask to the left eye and this mask to the right eye. And now we can delete these masks right here. So now we have them right here. We can just parent this to the left eye, this to the right eye. But more importantly, we can also parent the left eye to the left eye inner and this to the right eye inner. So now it should all match up, and if we play this, we will have big eyes tracked onto our face. So obviously the pupil, I didn't spend enough time in this tutorial to do it correctly, so you might see a lot of glitches there. But apart from that, the eyes do stay big here, and that's what I wanted to demonstrate. So that's how you get big eyes in Adobe After Effects. And then one more thing that we want to do is adjust our nose a little bit. So let's go back to our comp here where we see the face, the original face. Let's go to frame 100 where the face is most natural, which came out of Mocha Pro. And then we can just simply add a liquify tool to this also. And in this case, I'm going to choose also the bilge tool. Set it to like 150, choose the bilge tool. And I'm just going to click here a few times to bilge it up. And then maybe for the bottom size, I do want to bring this in. Bring this to the left here, get a thinner nose that is more straight, more like Voldemort. Bring this up, bring this down, so we have a more flat outcome, just to get a different look, not to be so pointy. And obviously, I'm not spending enough time to really make it perfect. I just want to show you that you have control over how you want this to look. And now if we go back to our main comp, it should be applied to our nose right here, but more importantly, well, actually, I'm just going to do one more thing here. Push it a little bit more to the left here, because we see that this is getting affected. So you have to kind of take care of what you move and what you don't move and try to do it in a smart way. But that's my nose. Looking good, okay. But if I will play this, you will actually see that it's tracking pretty significantly well because of the warp track that we did. So I have a completely different nose now, pretty cool. Obviously, this doesn't always work perfectly. It really depends on what angles you allow yourself to be in the video. But if you keep it in mind before shooting your video, you can get away with a lot of stuff. So we're almost there. All I have to do here is adjust my eyes a little bit better to make sure that this mask is always in the center of my eyes. I'm also going to need to soften the edges here a little bit more on my face, which you can simply do if you go here to the face warp. We can actually see that it's pretty sharp. So if we jump into that composition, we see that we applied the matte here for Mocha. So we can just click on apply here, but also feather it quite a bit, maybe like 25, maybe 50 to get a soft edge. And if we go back to our main comp, we will see that the edge here now is a lot softer and it's not as obvious anymore. And we can see that the tattoo sticks pretty well onto our face. I'm just going to change the resolution here to half so we can render a little bit faster and see what kind of result we have. I'm just going to turn off the eye color here because I know I didn't do a good job here and it does take me out of the effect. So I'm just going to preview this and see what we have. So on the nose, I did mess up a little bit in the design of it, but you can see that it sticks pretty well, especially if I preview this. You don't really see anything wrong with the nose except that I didn't liquefy it well enough, and everything else is sticking also pretty nicely. Apart from all of this, which I know it's been a lot, and if you're still with me, awesome and congratulations. Even if you didn't get it on the first go, it's a pretty heavy way of approaching this type of effect. A lot of sorts of tracking, a lot of things to keep oversight on, and I think you can easily feel lost when you start doing this. So just tackle one effect at once, each time improving yourself slightly. But it is a pretty cool result, and also everything that you have learned in this tutorial, you can use it for a ton of other examples as well. So from here, it's just tweaking, perfectionizing everything. And apart from that, even though it was quite a bit, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a like. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay notified when I upload new videos. And apart from that, I'm going to leave you with another upload of mine right here, so you can still continue your VFX journey right here, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, create epic videos.